We did it again.
Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum can add 2 more wins to his campaign column. He scored some big victories in the Deep South in Mississippi and Alabama. Watching it all from afar and taking in some of the interesting perspectives and stories you won't hear on any other network is our political contributor, Luke Vargas. Can we call last night's victory for Santorum a surprise?
I think it was surprising in a few ways. He hadn't been ramping up expectations. He had sort of been kind of glide under the radar, and he comes in, the margins aren't huge, but he delivers a pretty, a win with importance, I think, as far as the national race.
Because he apparently now has a Southern strategy that works.
Right.
Yeah. You got a chance to spend time in Mississippi and Alabama, got a pretty good look at the states from behind the scenes. That's your expertise. What did you see when you witnessed on election day as we take some of the pictures that you took?
Right. Well, I was in Clay County, which is in the eastern part of the state in Alabama, closer to the Georgia border, where I presumed Newt Gingrich would be performing well. For someone from the Northeast, I'm not used to seeing a lot of churches doubling as polling places. This is a fire station, but a few of the other polling places, you know, were congregations where you see the cross, and you see there's a church where there are donations, some golf clubs and some dolls and some shoes there in the foreground as someone votes in the background.
And Santorum is the one that's getting all these supporters and volunteers from the local churches?
Right. Well, we were talking about how Mitt Romney has the air game. He wins by using television advertising and other things, but you don't see too many people on the ground wearing his shirts. So when you see a Romney supporter in the flesh, you're saying, where'd you come from? Whereas with the Santorum campaign, lots of signs of all the campaigns. There's a gentleman volunteering for the Santorum campaign. He was out there for, I believe, about 8 or 9 hours yesterday at this polling place holding up that sign. It's very, you're used to seeing Santorum supporters on the ground. There are a whole bunch of signs in the bed of his pickup truck, so a very active ground game.
What about the Gingrich campaign? As we take some of the pictures you have now as you were following some of the Gingrich folks, you were saying last night he was the only candidate where?
He was the only candidate in Alabama or Mississippi. Rick Santorum, even though he won the states, had moved on to Louisiana. Mitt Romney had gone on to Illinois and St. Louis, so none of them were sticking around. But at this Gingrich event, I think he expected to do a lot better last night than he did. He had really ramped up expectations. And at the event, you could have heard a pin drop. I tell you,
really?
There were hardly 100 people there at the time the rally started. And there's one photo in that group, but the ballroom was almost empty.
And that's not a good sign, folks. When you have less than 100 people at it was supposed to be your victory party, it's almost like they can smell the coffee before you can. All right, let's concentrate on Mitt Romney. We discussed, as many people are saying, this is his inability to close the deal here. Did what happened in the South change that? Because if we can put up the numbers, Mallory, can we put up the numbers, the graphic for what happened in Mississippi and Alabama? He only loses by a few percentage points. There was no real big mandate against him or for him.
Right, the margins certainly weren't huge, but I think the visual impact, again, we can't pull up too many graphics, but if you look at the map, pretty much the narrative so far had been that Rick Santorum was winning in the Rust Belt, sort of the middle of the country. Then you throw in the South, which some people thought could tip to Gingrich, and with Santorum winning there, now his map looks entirely different. He's winning new parts of the country, and the question becomes for Mitt Romney, is he only going to win the coast? Because that doesn't look good. Only counting on the major urban areas.
But he would say to his detractors, look, I only lost by a couple of percentage points. I didn't do too bad.
Well, he also had the endorsement of both state governors. He was spending a lot more money, as he has in almost every other state, and had said he might be able to win in Mississippi, which he ultimately wasn't able to do. Coming below expectations is never a good sign.
Our political contributor, Luke Vargas, is here. He's been through Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. He heads elsewhere now. And, of course, he's the reason why we're enjoying 80-degree weather.
I'd like to think so.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're back right after this. You're watching Good Morning Memphis on Fox 13.